Hello, my name is Candido Crespo, visual arts education major, class of 2006, and today joining me is Alexandra Winters. I would love for Alexandra to share some information about herself, introduce yourself to everyone who's listening and viewing today.
Sure. Hey, my name is Alex Winters. I am a graduate of 2009, a organizational communication major, a wife, a mother, and professionally the director of patient experience operations at New Vance Health.
Okay, I think I want to start there by just asking, what is a director of experience operations?
That's a great question. So the easiest way to explain it is I like to say that my boss, he's the chief experience officer. He's like a composer. He writes the symphony, right? So he takes a look at patient experience across our 7 hospitals, across our medical practice, and he writes the plan. And then I am the conductor. I stand in front of all of the different parts of our organization, our hospital leaders, our medical practice leaders, and I help them understand how all the pieces of the puzzle go together and how to execute the strategy. So the easiest way to picture me is standing in front of a group of people, telling them when to play.
Okay, all right, excellent. I would love to hear the story of how you arrived at New Paltz.
So that's a great story. So I'm actually a twin. I have a twin brother named John. I'm 9 minutes older. And John and I did all of the same things in high school. We both played sports. We were both in drama club. We had all of the same friends. And we had every intention of going to the same college. In fact, my mom had somehow figured out how to get like a 2-for-1 deal for us. And just a few weeks before it was time to make our final decision, we came together and decided that we should separate. That part of a college experience is doing things that are scary and are outside of your comfort zone. And we knew that we would gravitate toward each other if we were on the same campus. And so we made the decision to go our separate ways. And I was lucky enough to have found New Paltz. I grew up 45 minutes down the thruway. So I'd been to New Paltz many times. I loved the campus. I was lucky enough to be accepted, and New Paltz seemed like a really natural fit. So I arrived after a tough decision, and am so glad for many, many reasons that that's the decision that I made.
You said that you're glad that that's the location that you chose. What do you think? Well, first, let me say this. When I think about my time at New Paltz, I think about the people who impacted me. Is there any standout faculty or staff member that had an effect on you?
Yeah. So, I mentioned my brother before, and he's the smart twin and the really talented twin. And I'm kind of the fun one. He's a little bit more fun now, but back then I was the fun one. He was the smart one. And so I kind of had gone through my life just being the fun one. And I never really saw myself as smart. And when I came to New Paltz, I took Introduction to Communication with Dr. Mary Call. It was a very hard class, really big class. It was in the lecture center, one of those really big classrooms that had that seating that was kind of like this, and there was 70 people in there. And I remember bringing my notebook and taking furious notes as Dr. Call spoke. And having no idea how I was going to do well. And when it was time to write our first paper, she really liked it. And then she really liked my second paper. And then I decided to take another class with her. And then I asked her to be my advisor. And Mary was the first person who told me that I was smart and capable, and completely changed my trajectory on what I wanted to do professionally when I left New Paltz. She's the reason why I have a master's degree. She's the reason why I pursued leadership. So I give her a ton of credit. And I'm thrilled. I mean, I'm still in touch with her. She was invited to my wedding. She showed up a day early. She read the invitation wrong, but she was invited to my wedding. She visits me when she's back in town. So it's a connection I'm really glad that I've been able to keep.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I was definitely going to follow up by saying, have you had a chance to follow up with her? But it seems that, yeah, you have been. All right.
She wrote great Christmas cards.
You graduated in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that in 2009, you would see yourself where you're at now?
No. No, in 2009, I was going to go to Washington and run political campaigns.
Okay.
So that's what I thought I was going to do. I thought I was going to be a communications director, be way more involved in media, be knee deep in politics. And when I graduated, like many of us in 2009, there are no jobs. Nobody knew what to do. We were all going home and living on our parents' couches. But I had this boy that I really liked, and I didn't want to go home. I wanted to figure out a way to stay with him. And so I was able to, through amazing luck, secure a position with Verizon through a college hire program, where I went directly into management. And it was really because of that organizational leadership concentration and that focus on organizational communication that I was able to secure that position. So I thought maybe I would do that for a year or two and then go do the fun stuff, then move to Washington. And I stayed with Verizon for almost 10 years. Found that I really loved managing people. I loved strategy. I loved operations. And that's what moved me into healthcare.
Okay. So you have been in healthcare now. What do you find to be the most rewarding or challenging aspect of the career?
So I've been in healthcare now for 3 years. I've been in my current role since March. So, you want to challenge, take a new job in the middle of a pandemic. But I've been thinking about this, and I think that COVID-19 is my biggest challenge and my biggest accomplishment. So here's why. So patient experience, it's really hard to impact in the middle of a pandemic. Our patients in our hospitals, their families are separated from them. We don't allow visitation so that we can keep our patients as safe as possible and their family members as safe as possible. We're constantly dealing with staff becoming infected or exposed. And so we're running a little short-staffed. And so things that were easy a year ago just aren't easy now. And so that's a huge challenge. How do you improve patient experience? How do you make everybody have an incredible experience in an impossible situation? But I think it's my biggest accomplishment because when we get it right, it is so right. And it impacts people on such a large scale. One of the things that I learned early on in this position is that for the first time, the decisions that I made had phenomenal impact on people and their lives. And so I've been privileged through this experience to have the ability to make decisions that have changed the course of somebody's hour, day, incredibly vulnerable moment in a really positive way. So really hard, really challenging, at times really draining, but also when it's good, it's so good.
I can't even imagine. Obviously, well, not obviously. I haven't mentioned it, but I'm a teacher, and our careers are different, and how we impact the lives of others during this time is significant in their own individual right. But thank you for doing what you're doing, because I can't imagine. I haven't. I've been fortunate to not have this situation where I have an immediate family member needing that type of care, but I'm sure that the families that you have impacted appreciate
Mm,
what you've done for them. So thank
thank
you
you.
for, I'll say thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Uh,
But it's, it's, I have the easy job.
I'm, yeah. Uh, you mentioned, a boy that you liked, and now I'm a little curious because I think we have a New Paltz love story here. Can you share it?
Yeah, I can. So I met my husband at New Paltz. I've been married almost 10 years, 10 years in April. Um, so my husband and I, we met, I guess it was my sophomore year. He was my RA, and I had a boyfriend, he had a girlfriend, and we didn't really notice each other. But my roommates, my suite mates, and where did we live? Dubois Hall.
Mm.
They they used to make a lot of noise so that he would come to the door, and they called him Hottie RA. And I didn't really pay attention. And then my relationship ended, and so did his. And I went to the Career Resource Center because I wanted an internship. And the I don't know her title. Her name's Beth King, maybe the director of Career Resource Center.
Okay.
She recommended that I call this guy and talk to him about an internship in Washington. And I did, and that was my husband, Rich. So we met over coffee. We started dating. We fell in love in Bliss Hall, and we've been together. God, I think it's 14 years,
Wow.
almost 14 years, and married for 10.
Wow. Um, your occupation sounds fairly demanding. Um, but I know that there are aspects of your life that are important to you. So let's start with family. How do you ensure that you maintain a quality of life that you're happy with?
That's a good question. So um, I have a 4-year-old, Logan. I'm pregnant with my second. So we'll have another little one this summer. Second most challenging thing after starting a new job in the middle of a pandemic is being pregnant in the middle of a pandemic. So I should tell you the kind of person I am. But I think first and foremost, how I keep it all balanced is I know who I am. And I am a awesome mom, and I love being a mom. But I also love going to work every day. I love being a part of decisions. I love what I do. I love being a boss, and I'm unapologetic about that. So I think that's really important because I know what's important to me at home, incredibly important. There's nothing more important. But I also I know who I am professionally. And I think that takes away a lot of the guilt because I chose this. I chose both. I think the next piece is that I have a partner who supports me in everything that I do. We have a completely equal relationship. And so when I can't be there, he is. And then I think the last piece, and I think this is really important for young women in leadership, is that you have to find an organization and a leader who understands your priorities. And if you can't do that, then you need to be good enough to find one that is. And what I mean by that is leave, find another place, because it does exist. I remember reading this article many years ago that made me so angry about why women can't have it all. And it's because you always have to make a choice. And like, yes, that's true. There are those days that your kid is sick and you miss a big presentation, or you have to admit vulnerability because of something at home. But I think that if you are unwilling to compromise, and you say that you are going to search for a fit for you that allows you to be fulfilled professionally and personally, and you commit to that, you can find it, and it exists. And I'm incredibly blessed and lucky to have found an organization who allows me to be that person, a leader who supports me completely at home, and a partner who does everything possible to build me up.
And applause for all of the partners who are so supportive. I'm fortunate to have one as well. Yeah, it makes a world of difference, just functioning as an adult in society when the person that you're working with, living life with, is there for you. There are other things that I want to know about that also require some time and may or may not be demanding. I don't know. Yoga, running, travel, nature. How do we fit these things in?
It's really hard. How do we fit them in? The first thing, yoga and running. So those things, again, one, they're prioritized, but two, they're important to my partner as well. And so there's never been a question about, I need to make space for me to do these hobbies on this day, because I know that the next day is his night, right? So he goes to yoga class on Tuesdays, I go on Thursdays. He goes for a run Saturday morning, I go on Sunday. And there's no guilt or frustration about someone getting their space or their alone time, because we know that the other person is going to have that. The next two things, I have adapted as my life has adapted, right? So travel used to be something I did by myself. Now it is something that I'm privileged to do with my family. Nature is something that I'm thrilled to be able to share with my son and soon my daughter. And so I think that that's one of the things about becoming an adult and growing up, is that, if you expect to stay the same and to have your passions, your loves, your hobbies, what makes you tick, stay exactly the same, you're going to struggle. You have to be able to adapt those things to work around what your life looks like now.
I think I heard it must have been in a podcast as well, when an entrepreneur was talking about how he had found success in business was through the engagement of his family, like keeping them involved in the entire process, and he had found himself to be successful because of that. And I think I apply that same ideology to the things that I do in my life as well, and it just makes everything feel not necessarily easier, but like you can get these things done because you're not taking away from any other aspect of your life. So yeah, I get that. Yeah,
Yes.
the whole nature aspect and the traveling, and I look forward to doing all of it again as well.
One day.
Yeah. All right. There are two words that I am particularly interested in, and definitely, and even more so interested now that as I hear you and I hear your story unfold. The first being success. I would love for you to define that for us.
So success for me is having a seat at the table. So it's really important to me professionally that I am looked at as an equal and as someone who others want to contribute. So, I remember the first time I was invited to a boardroom, and I didn't know why I was there. And I sat down, and after about 10 minutes of looking around, thinking, wow, everybody else is a vice president, a CEO, all the big dogs. What am I doing here? I realized that I was there because they wanted my input, and that I was an expert in a particular subject that they needed my feedback on. And for me, that is the ultimate level of success. When you are invited into that room and you are looked at with respect, and that you are your contributions matter. That's what it's all about for me. And having a leader who will get out of your way and allow you to represent yourself well, and to take credit for your expertise, and for your successes, and will support you through your failures, is really important.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. The next word would be fulfillment. What comes to mind?
Mm-hmm. So I think fulfillment, to me, one, has to do with engagement.
Okay.
So for me, there's been a few times where I've been in positions where I've gotten bored, and where I've started to feel like I spent too much time going through email, or I was taking lunches that were just longer and longer because I just wasn't inspired anymore. And so for me, fulfillment at work is being fully engaged. I had this job once where when I would come back from vacation, I would sit in the parking lot and cry before I would go in. And I always think about that now when I come back from vacation, because I can't wait to go back. I know there's going to be drama. I know there's going to be something that I missed. I know my boss is going to be like frantic, but I can't wait to face it all. And so that's fulfillment professionally. Fulfillment personally is, the fact that, there was an ice storm today and I worked from home and nobody questioned it. That when I told my boss I was pregnant, he asked me, what can I do to make this easier on you? And meant it completely.
Wow.
And when, they ask somebody to bake cookies for school, and not only can I bake them, I can drop them off. So it truly is about balance, and it just goes back to being in a position where that balance is supported.
Definitely reinforces your advice to young professionals about finding that career that allows them to do that.
Yeah, have the confidence to know that you're good enough, and that if it doesn't work, you'll find something that does.
Yeah, let's stay on that topic. I'm a firm believer in the role of mentorship in our lives, and that and community. But what advice would you give to any viewers or listeners who are interested in your particular field?
Sure. So I think here's what I didn't know about healthcare. I came from telecommunications. I've always been involved in a level of customer experience. So when I worked for Verizon, I ran big sales and service call centers, moved to New Vance to support patient experience. And what I didn't know is that it really is life and death, right? And that sounds silly, like, of course it is, it's healthcare, but I didn't know that I would be faced with it having such a outside non-patient facing position. And what I've had to learn is that empathy can be a learned skill. It's something that you always have, And if you don't have it, I think you just don't have it. But it is a trait that can get tired. And it is, I like to tell my doctors that they have to flex their empathy muscles. It's like flexibility, right? If you don't stretch, it goes away. And it's very similar. If you don't practice empathy, it goes away. And so anybody that is interested in healthcare, I think you need to find a way to practice this now and make sure that you're ready to be faced with the need for empathy in almost every interaction. Because what is a routine conversation for you is the person that you're speaking to, it's their absolute worst moment. A statement that you give 100 times is brand new for somebody. And so I would say for people who want to be in healthcare, volunteer, get involved at your local hospitals. Figure out how you can expose yourself to this type of experience, because for our clinical staff, it's not all science, and for our administrative staff, it's not all finance or human resources. Patients are involved in literally every aspect of everything that we do. And I think that's what makes our organization great. But if you're not prepared for that, it can be shocking and could be something that you need to adapt to quickly.
I have been writing notes while you've been talking, because there are things that I would like to apply to my own life, and I would definitely like to share outside of this conversation. But I want to backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
And I know you mentioned finally understanding that you are smart and receiving that acknowledgement while you were at New Paltz. I was wondering if there were any other lessons that you learned at New Paltz that helped transform you into the person that you are today that you can share with us.
Yeah. A few come to mind. The first is I think I learned hard work at New Paltz. So my first semester, I almost failed out. I was one of those kids that kind of skated through high school, got pretty good grades, didn't really work that hard. And I think I thought I would do the same thing at college, and quickly learned that was not going to work. And I remember pulling up my grades on whatever the computer system was and being terrified to call my dad, and never wanting to have that experience again. And so I think I was really faced with the need to work hard and figure out how to adapt, and work hard in a way that I'd never done before and do it really, really quickly. So that's the first one. The second one, I think I learned about bravery at New Paltz. I did things for myself that terrified me. My senior year, I studied abroad. I left. I went to Ireland for 3 months, and I can remember, having like a panic attack on the plane, having a vision of me getting up and running and opening the door before we pulled away from the tarmac and jumping off the plane, running back to smelly JFK, because, that's all I knew. But I didn't, I left, and I went away. And it was the best experience I could have asked for. It was wonderful. So I think I learned about bravery and knowing when that feeling inside of you of fear actually is excitement, and being able to face it and turn it into something you're really excited about. And then finally, I had a really fun time at school. I think I learned the importance of having fun. I had great friends. I was on a radio show. I was involved on campus. And I think that's a really important piece of this is that, when you go away, you should also be able to look back at it and say, that was the best time.
Mm.
I loved my friends. I loved where I lived. I love what I got to do. So I'm really happy that I, was challenged academically at New Paltz. I think I am where I am today because of some of the relationships and some of the things I learned there, but I also had a great time.
I feel like there's some overlap in our experience, certainly there. I was definitely, I don't think that I was an introvert, because I was given an opportunity to be an extrovert. But when I got to school, you know, all walls down, and I got to enjoy myself and transform it in a way that was definitely positive as well, and have those fond memories. Um, we are at the end of our conversation. I want to know if you've shared a tremendous amount of gems, but maybe if you have some parting words, um, just to leave people with some additional information. We could possibly have students listening right now, or just, fellow alumni that are listening. I don't know, do you have any words that you would like to share with them?
Yeah, I think I do. I have been professionally really fortunate. I landed this great job in this uh, huge organization 12 days after graduation. Um, I had hair down to my waist. I chopped it off to my chin, and I bought fake glasses so people would take me seriously and think I was older than I was. I had no idea what I was doing. And I think what I would tell that person now is not to be afraid to fail, but to do it really, really fast. Fail fast, figure out your next move, and keep adapting. And I think that I did that. I did it a little slowly, but if you can allow yourself to just give it a shot, and pivot if it doesn't work, I think that you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish. And then, I would also say, don't be afraid to want it all. You
Mm.
know, there's nothing wrong with having an idea of who you are, what you want to be, and what happiness looks like to you, and be unapologetic in your pursuit for it. Because if you work hard, if you're good at what you do, if you are kind, if you are honest, you can have it all.
That's excellent. Alex, thank you for sharing your story with us, taking the time to reminisce and exemplifying what it means to soar higher.
It was so fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No problem.